the chapter breathing and exchange of gases. That means respiration. So human respiratory system. The respiratory organ of human beings is a lung. A pair of lungs are there for respiration, and the respiratory system starts with the nostrils. The opening of a nose is known as a nostril. Two openings, nostrils, and nostrils leads to nasal chamber. Nostril, we have already discussed this. So nostril, the opening, leads to nasal chamber, and then to pharynx. So where is the pharynx found? Pharynx is found in the throat region, and it is the common passage for food and air. Both the food, esophagus, opening of esophagus and opening of trachea are both found in pharynx. So it has two regions. Pharynx can be divided into two: oropharynx and nasopharynx. Oropharynx is the pharyngeal part which leads to the esophagus, and oropharynx and nasopharynx. Oropharynx, the part of pharynx leading to esophagus, that is annanala, and the nasopharynx is the pharyngeal region leading to trachea, part of lungs. Okay, so there are two openings. One opening leading to the trachea is called glottis, and in this region what is found? Larynx, the sound box, vocal box, okay, is found in in the pharyngeal region. And what happens is when we swallow food, this glottis is covered by a structure called flap called epiglottis to prevent the entry of food into the glottis during swallowing. Okay, to prevent the entry of food into the lungs, there is a flap, a lid called epiglottis, which prevents the entry of food into the glottis during swallowing. Okay, to entry of food into the lungs is prevented by a structure, a flap called epiglottis, which covers the glottis, the opening of trachea. Okay, then lungs is covered by a double-layered membrane called pleura, and in between these two layers there is a fluid called pleural fluid, and it reduces friction and on the lungs, that is protection. The outer pleural membrane is in close contact with the thoracic lining, whereas the inner pleural membrane is in contact with the lung surface. So where is the lungs found? In the thoracic region, the chest region. Okay, and the space between two lungs is known as a mediastinum. The space between lungs is called mediastinum. mediastinum, mediastinum, where the heart is located. Heart is found in the space between two lungs, which is known as mediastinum. Then what are the steps in breathing? Steps in breathing, otherwise known as respiration. So there are how many? 4 steps. Breathing or pulmonary ventilation. Another word, pulmonary ventilation. Breathing, respiration or pulmonary ventilation, by which atmospheric air is drawn in and carbon dioxide produced in the body is released out. Otherwise, oxygen from the atmospheric air is drawn in, inhaled, and carbon dioxide produced in our body is exhaled, released out. Inhalation and exhalation. Then second step is diffusion of gases, that means respiratory gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Respiratory gases are oxygen and carbon dioxide, and diffusion of these gases across the alveolar membrane. What is alveoli? Alveoli is the bag-like structure found at the terminal bronchioles, which is the exchange part of respiratory system. Then third one is a transport of gases by the blood. That means transporting the oxygen and carbon dioxide through blood. Then diffusion of carbon dioxide and oxygen between blood and tissues. That takes place in tissues, and utilization of oxygen by the cells for catabolic reactions and resultant release of carbon dioxide. That means breakdown reaction, catabolism. Complex molecule into simple particles is known as catabolism or catabolic reaction. Okay, so these are the steps involved in breathing. One is inhalation and exhalation and diffusion of gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs. It is across the alveoli. That takes place second step in lungs. And third, this oxygen from the lungs is carried to the tissues and from the blood what happens, carbon dioxide should be taken back into the to the lungs. So diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between lung, blood and tissues, and utilization of oxygen by the cells. And what is ultimate process taking place here is the utilization of oxygen for the breakdown of nutrients stored in our body to get energy. Okay, so